Fed up of wardrobes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello, Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Now, today's episode is because I've been doing quite a lot of travelling lately, and I remember how difficult it used to be. And I want to share with you something for you to consider in your own home that makes packing and unpacking easier. Now, how it used to be for me was I would take weeks of planning what I was going to take with me to ensure it was available. So like clothing, making sure I didn't wear it in between. It'd have to be put to one side because I would never be able to find it again when I needed it. Lists after lists after lists of what was needed, trying to remember everything in my head, running out to buy new things the day before and spending money I didn't have. It'd be rushed on the last day, often staying up until silly o'clock in the morning, rush packing, and something was bound to be forgotten. And it just felt like a really, really stressful experience. And then coming back, once I'd been away, come home, the suitcases would stay in the hallway for me to trip over or get annoyed about, sometimes in my kitchen, reminding me that I needed to open them to put the disgusting clothes in the washing machine that have been festering for a long time. Sometimes in my bedroom, just reminding me they haven't been done. Sometimes it would be weeks or months. Now, this is all really, really stressful. And let's face it, life is stressful enough. And I actually find holidays stressful too. Now, if that's something that you feel happens to you, then I want you to reconsider one thing from today's podcast, which I'm hoping will make your life easier. Obviously, the biggest change for me is that everything now is a home, which makes finding what I need so much easier. Like packing can take now 15 minutes and unpacking takes about 10 minutes, which like no matter how long I'm away for, it's really about the same amount of time, whether it's one night or a few weeks. And I know that I am really lucky in that, but I want to tell you now that life is so much easier on the other side. In fact, it's quite disconcerting because when you've done everything and it took such a short space of time, you're kind of like, what have I not done? And then you realise actually you've done everything. However, having a home at the moment, if you're in the middle of decluttering and organising your home, that advice really is not helpful right now, is it? Because you're already trying to do that. You're already in the process of doing it. So there is one other thing I can tell you, which I'm hoping will help. And I get that prepping for holiday packing could probably take an episode all of its own. But there is one thing I do want to talk to you about because I see so many clients do this. And I want you to know, I see people making this mistake all the time when it comes to travel and packing. And I really want you to challenge you on it, although I totally also understand why you do it this way. And that is having travel specific items. And this is, for example, having a whole other wardrobe of clothes of just holiday stuff, having a whole other set of travel items that are specifically only for travel, like makeup, for example, toiletries that are only for when you travel, bags that you only use when you're away, clothing that you only use when you're away, first aid stuff, all that kind of stuff, like whether it's sewing kit or everything that you want to take with you, basically. But you have that as a separate travel specific category that actually could be in your everyday category of stuff. So not having a separate first aid stuff when you go on holiday, but actually just lives in with all your other first aid stuff. Your bags that you use every day, you have one, don't have one for travel, have one that you can use for travel, but you use it every day. Toiletries, don't have separate, but use the ones that you've already got. And that's what I really want to talk about today, because the only thing I have, which is travel specific, is my travel documents, like my passport and insurance and GHIC or eHIC card, whatever it is now, and the electricity plug adapters. I also have one plastic tub for my moisturiser because I can't use random stuff because I'm allergic to so much stuff. But I decant my regular everyday moisturiser into it. I do not need to have mini sets of everything. And other than my adapters, which are kept in my suitcase so I know exactly where they are when I need them, you don't have to have anything that isn't already in everyday use. And one of the things that is really useful is thinking, if I am only taking this on holiday with me, where would I look for it? Look for it in the place, for example, in the bag that you travel with. Put it in your travel bag, put it in your travel suitcase, so that when you go to that, you know exactly where they are. So that's tip 1. But tip 2 is to have everyday items in use, which you then pull from when you go away. Now, I get why you might think it's easier to have separate travel items. You're living in chaos. It might just feel easier that way. But actually, it's really not. You're more likely to forget something. So if 80% of your stuff is travel only and you've got to remember that extra 20%, actually it can be quite hard to remember those extra 20% because that's not something that you pack every day. I actually find it easier that on the day that I'm packing those things, the things that I need are things that I'm using anyway. So as soon as they've been used, they get chucked in the suitcase as I use them. So for example, I brush my teeth and use my toothpaste, and then once that is done, it then goes in my suitcase. I brush my hair, then the hairbrush then goes in my suitcase, rather than relying on the travel one that is maybe actually I took that out and put it in a different handbag because I needed something. So I was only going to a friend's house or whatever, and I only needed those 2 bits. And it's trying to remember where everything is. I don't need to do that anymore. I just take what I've currently got. The other reason is that you end up with duplicates of everything, which you then need to store. And often things like run out, or there's not quite enough in to get you through your holiday, or they go out of date by the time you need them again, which you only realise as you're packing, rather than taking items from the everyday that you've renewed, replaced, that you're now up to date with. You then put them in. And then also unpacking is simply putting things back where they live, which is so quick and easy. And there's no worries about next time, as the stuff will be in use the next time you go back for it, if that makes sense. I really hope I'm making sense, because this is quite a weird concept to try and explain online. But adapting what you've already got is something that we can really struggle with as people who like our stuff. And also when we're living in that world of chaos, it sometimes makes it feel easier to have it separate. But the one easy starting point for me is looking at your travel stuff and thinking, actually, can I just use this every day? So I've got like a mini deodorant. Can I just use mini deodorant? Can I just use that makeup pouch that I normally take away with me? Just use that makeup. Don't have it as separate travel makeup. Have it as everyday stuff. Can I have, I can't think of anything else, but, why does it need a separate category on its own? It really doesn't. So make it easier for yourself instead of adding in extra complications and needing extra space, which, let's face it, in our houses is an absolute premium. And you might think, well, at the minute it's all in one suitcase, it's not causing a problem. But actually, that suitcase later on might actually store something that hasn't got a home right now. You might be playing house Tetris, and actually that space that fits an entire suitcase might, I don't know, hold Christmas stuff. You might go away, I don't know, if you go away at Christmas, then obviously you can't do both, but you might need that space is premium. So if there's ways you can minimize it, that's what you need to do. So that was a really short but sweet episode this week. But I would really love to know what you've got an extra category of that maybe you can take from the everyday instead of having separate. Let me know. So until next time, be kind to yourself, remember you're not alone, and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour, hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.